In front of me is the Bonnell 775 MX, one of the most fun electric mountain bikes that I have ever ridden in my life. But whether you're on one of these bikes, you're on the 775 AM, which is Bonnell's all-mountain version, or you're on any other mountain bike on the market, doesn't have to be an electric, doesn't matter what it is, I'm gonna show you guys one massive improvement that you can make to your bike to get a lot of longevity out of it and make sure that you're not spending money on repairs that could have been prevented. This is Andreani's Supermousse. It's basically a mousse insert for mountain bikes, which is super cool. You'd get to keep a tubeless system in your bike, but now you've got some added rim protection. And if you get a flat tire out there on the trail, you can still make it home without damaging anything due to this mousse insert. I've tried a lot of other inserts in my life, like Tannis or Cushcore for mountain bikes, but this one is by far the best that I have ridden. It's at the best price point as well, and it's super simple to get installed. So let's go ahead and take you through how to do that. Let's go ahead and get the wheel pulled off of this MX. To do that, I'm going to lock this derailleur in the front position, which slacks my chain. Then I'm going to remove it altogether using a 5mm Allen. Pull these bolts out. That will come down. Then I can go ahead and move this chain off to the side. On the other side here, I'll grab a 4mm Allen, loosen off the rear axle pinch bolt. Grab a 6mm Allen and loosen off the actual axle itself. This will loosen up, and then I can go ahead and just pull it straight out and pull the wheel right out of the bike. There's a couple of things you're going to want in order to do this. You are going to want some sort of tubeless sealant. In this case, I'm going with Stan's. It doesn't really matter what you use as long as it's not ammonia based for this insert. I'm also going to be checking the rim tape on this bike, so make sure that you've got some rim tape on hand just in case you need. You'll want some way to be able to insert the tubeless sealant into your bike, which is why I have this smaller bottle with a nozzle on it. And you'll also want some spoons. Now, I prefer using Moto spoons, which is why I have them on the right. You can also use mountain bike spoons. Mountain bike spoons are typically a bit thicker, a little bit harder to work with, but also easier to protect your rim. It's really just a matter of your preference. Once again, I prefer Moto spoons. I might end up using a hybrid of both during this. You are also going to want any sort of tubeless valve for your wheel. All right, before I dive into the install, let's quickly talk about sizing. The Andreani Mousse comes in multiple different sizes. I'm going to be utilizing a medium for this bike. A medium goes all the way up to a 2.5 tire. The tire on the Bonnell that I'm working on is a 2.5. So I'll go ahead and utilize this mousse. Before I pull this out, let's go ahead and get the tire off of the rim. This bike currently comes with a tube in it. Let's convert that over to a tubeless system. Very simple to do. And then we'll go ahead and get this installed. First things first, let's remove all of the air pressure out of the tire itself. Now there's no more pressure in the tire, I'm gonna go ahead and break the bead on it. So I'm just gonna push down on the edge and break it off of the rim. I'll do that all the way around, like so. Make sure I've got any more excess air out of here now that I've broken that off and created some more pressure on the tube. Let's get this tire off. To do that, I'm going to start with 3 mountain bike spoons, kind of space them out pretty well. Make sure that you keep a little bit of pressure on them so they stay in there as you're pulling this up. Keep it over the bead. I just lost that one, so let's get it down in there. And pull it up. Grab another bite over here. Once you've got about 4 bites in it, it's pretty easy to just pull this tire off. So just go around it, pull that up. Then I'm going to pull the tube out, so I'll push in on the stem, pull the tube up and out. Now I'll go ahead and flip this over. I am going to pull this tire all the way off. This side is still on the bead, so let's go ahead and pop that off of the bead there. I'll once again grab a couple of spoons, throw them in on the tire, and then pull the tire up over and on this side. Once again, once you got about 4 bites, you can just go ahead and pull this off. And then you can push onto one side and just roll it right off. All right, let's go ahead and prep this to get over to a tubeless system. Bonnell has already done a really good job with their rim tape, but there are a couple of micro holes on the edges of this wheel. Right here on the very edge, you can see 2 holes. Those are the holes that I really want to cover and make sure that some rim tape is over. So in order to do that, I'm going to take a strip of rim tape, push it up against the edge, make sure that I get a really good seal. There's a couple of these holes throughout the rim, so make sure you find all of those and get those covered up. So I'm going to go ahead and clean the inside here. You want to do that because there might be some assembly grease. Then I'm going to retape these holes, make sure that everything is perfect. This is the most critical step, is how good your tape is before you do this. So make sure to take your time, get this tape properly. So to clean it, I'm just going to use some isopropyl alcohol or rubbing alcohol. Put some of that on there, just go around the inside here. Got a little bit of my rim tape here, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of lay it up on the edge of this. I'm actually going to take one of my spoons and really get it down into that crease. Just make sure that it really settles nice and flush on that crease. Then I can roll the rest of this tape onto the existing tape here. And then I'm going to do that for each hole that I find. Typically, if there's a hole on one side, it's got a matching hole on the other. So make sure to get the other edge as well. So now that I've taped up those holes that are on the edges, which are crucial air leak points, I'm going to go ahead and just put an extra thing of tape over this, mainly to secure the tape that I just barely put on. Make sure that you buy the right width of tape. The tape that I'm using for the Bonnell wheel is a 30mm width. That's the width of the inside here. So I'm going to go ahead and set that in. This tape will fall really nicely into the rim itself. Just go ahead and just pull a lot of tension onto this as you're laying it down. And because Bonnell already has a really nice tape job done underneath, I'm only going to wrap this around once, really just to secure the other tape that I put over those holes. So I'll get it around once. Cut that tape there. And I'll lay it down. Before I crease this side, I'm going to put my thumb right in here and run all the way around this tape to the other side. And then just get that to nicely settle into this, create a good seal over everything. This is really just an extra added safety precaution. All right, now that we've got some really good tape on here, I'm gonna go ahead and install my valve. So I'm gonna come up through the other side, kind of pinpoint exactly where the hole should be for this valve. Go ahead and break through it. After creating a hole here, I'm going to push down on all this rim tape, make sure that it's really secure right around that hole. I'm going to take my new valve, push it all the way through. There's going to be some resistance. That resistance is a good thing. Get it through that tape. You're going to want to get it to fully settle on that rim. I'm going to take the rubber gasket, put it over, push that all the way down. Take the valve stem nut, put that over. Make sure that you really tighten this down because that is going to hold the seal through this hole. Now we're ready to move on. All right, now we're ready to actually get this installed on the bike. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out of the packaging. Now, first thing we're gonna do, the red side will be facing outwards. So what I'm gonna do is kind of straighten this up a little bit. Once I've straightened this out a little bit, what I'm gonna do is kind of massage it and stretch it slightly. This is gonna be a nice pre-stretch for when it goes on. So just go ahead and grab it, give it a nice gentle stretch. Do this all the way down. You do not wanna overdo this. You don't wanna tear this foam, but you just wanna get it nice and pre-stretched. That's all that really matters. Just go ahead and do that all the way down this. You'll get a really nice forearm pump by the end of that. That's how you know you're doing it right. If you want to be really thorough, you can do that a couple of times, but this will do just fine. So now let's go ahead and mock this up to the wheel. To do that, I'm going to pick a spot. So let's pick this spoke right here in particular. I'm going to put the black side facing down, line it up with that spoke. I'm going to try to hold this on here and kind of wrap it all the way around with some tension on it. So make sure you have tension on it. I'm going to come back to this point. So now, because I used this spoke here as a reference, I'm going to back this off. I'm going to put this down to that spoke. I'm going to mark this part of the tube on that spoke, and I'm going to cut this to size. I've got some really sharp scissors here. Usually you'll want to use a really sharp razor blade, anything along those lines. Just make sure that it's really nice. You take your time to cut this really straight through. These scissors seem to work pretty well for me, but there's all sorts of different methods to doing this. Alrighty, we've got a nice cut there. I'm gonna go ahead and re-mock it up back to the wheel, make sure I didn't make any mistakes. If you're nervous about it, you definitely don't want to cut it too short, although you can stretch it a little bit back into place if needs be. So right now I've got that in a pretty ideal place. I think that's going to work really well for me. It's easy to get it to be put together. So now I'm going to actually put a zip tie that goes in between the two. This mousse comes with a red zip tie. I'll show you how to get that installed. All right, so from the inside here, I'm gonna go about an inch away from the edge. I'm gonna take a 4mm Allen and just puncture straight through this, all the way out to the other side. Create that hole, and then do the exact same thing on the other side. Just straight through it, just like that. Now remember, the red side faces outwards, so I'm going to take the zip tie. I want this piece to go into this notch here. So I'll run this up and through. Come around to the other side. Go ahead and put that together, straighten it up. Put some tension on it. Get it straightened up, put some tension on it just like that, and I'll cut this zip tie here, and you'll be good to get this installed on the bike. All right, now we can go ahead and reinstall the tire back onto the bike here. Remember, these tires are directional, so you want to be sure that you put it on the right way. I'm going to go ahead and slide this over and then put one side of the bead onto this rim. It's pretty easy to just work it back over. It's usually pretty easy to get this thing on almost all the way for the most part until the very end, where I'll then take my spoons. Usually the installation of these, it's a lot easier to do with these Moto spoons. They're a lot sharper, a lot more leverage. Just pop that on real quick. Didn't damage anything with these spoons. Now that I've got one side of the bead on, I can go ahead and grab my Supermousse. So let's take this Supermousse and get it installed. My valve stem is over here, and my zip tie, I'm going to put 180 degrees away from that, try to help balance out this tire. Let's go ahead and get this installed. I'm just going to feed it right on into the tire itself. And then I'm going to try to massage the inside of this down over the rim. Just like so. So now we're in there, we're ready to get this installed. I'm going to start away from the valve here. I'm going to kind of pull up with my hand underneath, roll it, and pull it back on over, and then do that a couple times to get this going. I'm going to make sure to push that down and in, and keep on rolling this right on into the rim. So now that I'm about 2/3 done here, what I want to do to be able to relax this side is push this side down into the middle. So I'm going to push that down as far as I can there, all the way around this, and then keep on working this in. All right, and that's about as far as I can get this by hand. So I'll go ahead and grab my spoons. It's important to take little bites as you do this, and you also want to keep some pressure on the edge over here. So I'll reach across and start biting this down in. I don't want this side to slip up and away from me. Start taking a couple bites, put both of these spoons in here. About one more bite will do it. Pull up, get that spoon under there, clock that spoon, and boom, we're in. Now it's time to put some sealant into this wheel. So I'm gonna take this valve stem here out. It's pretty easy to grab with some needle nose pliers. You don't wanna put too much pressure on here. Just grab some needle nose, give it a little twist. Usually after doing that once or twice, it's pretty easy to pull this out. There's your valve stem. Now that I've got the valve stem out, I'm gonna go ahead and put some sealant in. Just use the appropriate amount of sealant for your tire. It's usually about one of these smaller bottles of sealant. Just go ahead and put that over the valve stem. Make sure you're obviously gravity feeding this. So I've got the valve stem facing down right now. Awesome, got all that sealant in there, pull that off. Go ahead and grab my valve stem again, put this back on. Use some needle nose pliers to retighten that down. They make special tools for this. It's not really that necessary. Really doesn't take much tension. You just have to seal the gasket that's in there. I usually pump it up to just about the max PSI that a tire will take. That max PSI on this is 55 PSI. I'll probably pump it to 50, make sure that the edge of the tire seals fully on here, and then I'll put it back down to my riding pressure. All right, so we got that installed. It's really a straightforward process. The biggest thing is just being really tedious about that rim tape. You do not want any issues with that. And when you're using the spoons, it's easy to dig into that rim tape and cause damage as well. So just be really cautious about that. Honestly, the Moto spoons were a lot easier to do because I had more leverage, but you don't want to use that leverage to actually break the bead on these. They're not as strong of beads as a Moto tire is. So if you're using those, be very cautious, but yes, it was easier with those. So anywho, give it a second once you've got this inflated to make sure that you've got no leaks. It's pretty easy to hear leaks that come out of these. Because I took the time to get that taped up nicely, this has no leaks. It's ready to get installed back onto the bike. And there you have it, guys. That is how to install the Andreani Supermousse Pac-1 into your mountain bike. It's going to make a huge difference while you're out there. These are not dirt bike wheels, they are mountain bike wheels. You want to make sure that you protect those. The best way to do it is to have an actual layer of protection over that rim. And if you ever get a flat due to any weird situation, you can still ride out of the trail, which is super important. It's going to save you a lot of wheels for a really cheap cost. Hopefully that video helped. If you guys have any questions, comment them below. Andreani also has a super good installation video, but check out these inserts on our website at www.chargedcycleworks.com. You can find them there, and you can put them in any mountain bike that you have. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on our next Tech Tip Tuesday.